Just give me three thumbs up.
Really?
Boom, boom, boom. There you go. Well, hello, Brazil. Welcome.
Olá, Brasil, sejam bem-vindos.
How does it get better than this? It's so great to
Como
see all
pode
your beautiful
melhorar?
faces.
É muito bom ver essas caras lindas aqui.
So,
Então,
bodies, right?
corpos, certo?
Yeah. So Fabiana and Luana and Ricardo
Fabiana,
invited me to come
Luana
down
e
to Brazil to do a 3-day body class. How does it get better than that? And I'm super, super excited. And, I want to talk to you all about the possibility of literally having communion with every single molecule that surrounds you. And what would your life be like if everything was speaking to you? And I know for some of you, things are speaking to you already, but not maybe always in the ways you'd like it to speak to you, but things are speaking to a lot of you because a lot of you on this call have a lot of awareness. And unfortunately for some of you, sometimes your awareness hasn't worked to your advantage. But that's what's amazing about these tools in Access Consciousness is that they are designed to empower you. They are designed to take your gifts, your capacities, your talents, and sharpen them, make them stronger, and create this space where you're no longer at the effect of your gifts and capacities like many people are. So it's like most of my life, I've, been told I've had all this potential, right? But it seemed like all this potential was working against me until I found Access. And I studied a lot of different techniques. I studied many different religions. I was a masterly certified in metaphysics, breath work, you name it. The list goes on and on and on. And it wasn't until Access where I can actually perceive my being. Not just like know it, but actually perceive it, where literally every single cell and molecule in my body was invigorated by my being. So instead of this thing being like outside of me, it became palpable. And why? Or how? How did this all happen? Well, all the different tools that we have available to us in Access, like the bars was the first place. By the time I got to Access Consciousness, my first wife committed suicide. I was a single father of 3 children. They were 10, 8, and 2.5. And I was like, okay, God, I don't understand. I've been working all these years to seek your face and to be conscious and to heal people as a chiropractor. And this is what happens. I don't understand. And so I basically made a demand. I'm like, I'm going to go out. At the time I was also involved with the church. And I said, I'm going outside the box again. I need to find something that has the ability to get to those places that I have not been able to change. Because I have a dead wife who committed suicide because she suffered from mental illness. At that time, she believed that she was demon possessed. Knowing what I know now with the tools of talk to the entities, I know that was absolutely true. But I didn't have the tools available to me at the time to change it. And so as I got involved with Access, it's like I started, even though I came to Access with my arms folded, like, prove it to me. It was like I kept getting results. I could perceive the energies moving through my body. There were actually even some instances in where I can literally feel entities leaving my body just from the bars. Not even the body processes yet. And I was like, oh my God, there is something to this work. And initially what kept me going back was watching how the children were affected by getting their bars ran. And the ease and the joy that it created in their lives, to me, that was worth it. And at that point, I was like, I'm a lost cause. I can't be helped with any techniques or modalities because I've tried so many and nothing works. But I'll keep coming back because I know it's helping the kids. And after a while, it was like I went to my third bars class to get certified, and it was like my brain started spinning, like, and it was literally the next day I felt like God put a brand new brain in my head. And it was only 11 months after their mom had died, and I was actually happy and I had joy in my body. And I said, this is what I've been looking for. And fast forward 2.5 years at Certified Facilitators in Costa Rica. The first 2.5 years is all about getting me through my drama and trauma, okay? All my pain, all my suffering, everywhere where I wasn't reaching my potential, okay? And it was the third day of Certified Facilitators, and I was walking back from the cafeteria where we eat. And my knees buckled, and I went to the ground. And I could literally perceive everything pulsating. The trees, the plants, the sky. The sky became bluer. The green on the trees became greener. Even the cement that I was walking on, it became soft underneath my feet. And I could perceive everything communicating to me, like boom, 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 boom. And then I just started to weep with tears of gratitude, not sorrow, but tears of gratitude. And it was the first time I actually thanked my late wife for creating the space for me to experience the magic of this work. And when I say magic, I'm not talking about the hocus pocus magic. I'm talking about palpable potency, like a tsunami of energy that's available to every single one of you that is on this call. And no matter what you've been through, no matter what tragedies you've been through, okay, no matter how much abuse you may have experienced in your life, none of that has to dictate your future. So on that third day of Certified Facilitators, my first, I realized that this work is more than just getting you through your drama and trauma, but it's actually about accessing more of you, the potency of you, all your gifts, all your capacities, and also exercising your awareness so much so that you're no longer at the effect of all the things that you're aware of. So whether you're a psychic, a healer, or an accountant or a lawyer, none of it matters. This is available to all. Okay? And what is actually available is so much grander than anything you could even ever imagine in your wildest dreams. It's even beyond what you thought would be a magnificent life. Okay? And this is coming from someone who has been kicked in the balls a lot in his life. Okay? And so it was about 2.5 years as Certified Facilitators. I'm like, wow, this work is more than just the getting you through your drama and trauma. It's about accessing the magic and the potency of who you be. And then I made a commitment to go to more classes. And then literally 2 months later, Dane had asked me to work on him as a chiropractor. And then Gary asked me to work on him too, but not as a chiropractor. He actually asked me to do energy work, SOP, Symphony of Possibilities, or ESB, Energetic Synthesis of Being. And I went up to his room, and thank God Dane here was in the room. And I said, Dane, he doesn't want chiropractic, does he? And he goes, no. I'm like, what am I going to do? I don't know what to do then. And he goes, you'll figure it out. And I laid my hands on Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, and his body jumped like 3 inches off the table. And I thought I killed him. I'm like, are you okay? Did I hurt you? And he goes, yeah. He goes, you just shot a lightning bolt through my body. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. He goes, no, it was wonderful. And then he yelled out to Dane. He said, hey, Dane, we found someone who has a very similar capacity as you. And I said, what? I'm like, these guys are pulling my leg. They're just trying to find a way to invite more guys to Access. Because there's all women in Access. There's no men, right? So I thought they were joking with me, trying to make me feel good because they knew I was always sad all the time. So they actually invited me to start doing sessions in the back of their choice of possibility classes. And then I actually started to work on them after their classes in the privacy of their hotel room. And if you ask me, excuse me if I'm going to cry here for a second, but whew, if you would have told me that I would be working on Gary Douglas and Dr. Dane here energetically, I would have told you you were crazy. And it was probably the most excited time of my life and scariest time of my life, because I was like, who the hell am I? I'm nobody. I'm just someone who's been struggling, And I mean, I always knew I was a good healer, and I always knew that I worked well with my hands, but to work with Gary and Dane, like, who am I? And so no matter how scared I was, I chose to step off that cliff. And I started working on them. And then as I would work on them and they would work with me, it was like stepping into these doorways of possibilities. And when you would step into one doorway, you would see an infinite amount of other doorways. And each doorway was another possibility for me to walk into. And every time, no matter how scared I was, no matter how bad people judged me, no matter how bad people hated me, because this was showing up, it was like I still chose for me. And the universes upon universes upon universes that became available to me was beyond anything I'd ever imagined. And it was everything, though, that I'd always dreamed about since I was a little boy. But I could never find that in metaphysics. I couldn't find that in breath work. I couldn't find that when I had a guru. I couldn't find that when I was in the church. I couldn't find that as a chiropractor. And this was not about following Gary or following Dane. They don't even encourage that. They just encourage all of us to be the leaders of our own life. And I began to experience what it was like to actually have the potency of me for the first time in my life. Now, I'm still a work in progress. I have not arrived, okay? I have not reached any mountaintop, okay? I'm very, very imperfect on many levels, but my life is so much grander than it's ever been before. And the things that have become available to me energetically, no one can ever take that away from me, okay? I may not be able to explain it to you scientifically, but I could actually invite you to it so you could actually perceive it for yourselves. Okay? And what became available to me was this tsunami of possibility, not just for me, but for everyone. And in that tsunami of possibility, nothing is unchangeable. Nothing is impossible. And so over the years, up until I would receive these body processes, and it was amazing, and I realized the body processes weren't just about pains in my body, symptoms in my body. They were also about bringing up energies, the energies of my limitations, and they brought it up right in front of my face. And I got to actually see all the places where I've been insane, whether it had to do with relationships, whether it had to do with my poverty concepts, okay, whether it had to do with judgments of my body. And I started to see these things come up, and I'm like, oh my God, that's so ugly. It's so terrible. It's so, I don't even want to look at it. But that was the first time amongst all these different techniques and modalities where the energies of my limitations became evident. And I was finally able to start changing it with the tools, whether it was the Gentleman's Club, whether it was reading Beyond the Utopian Ideals, whether it was receiving body processes on a regular basis. I was doing all these things and everything started changing. I started to have more communion. Okay. My sex life got better and greater. Okay. My money flow started to change. I started to become happier. Now, both my boys eventually became teenagers. And for those of you who have teenagers, once your kids become teenagers, that's not always easy, right? So a whole new set of tools have to, where's the instruction book on teenagers? Anyway, but that's another story for another day. But now my kids are 18, 16, and 10. And I honestly could tell you that probably if it wasn't for these tools, I'd have one child probably, you know, would have harmed himself by now, truly harmed himself if it wasn't for these tools. And so when you look at what we've been through as a family, we're thriving. And we're thriving because of the tools of access consciousness. And that is available to every single one of you on this call, whether you even believe that these tools work for you or not. Because I didn't necessarily believe that these tools worked at the beginning, but they just started changing things in my life and I couldn't deny the results. So, and it's not me, whether you come to my class or you go to another facilitator's class, it doesn't really matter. We're all different and we all contribute to these body processes in different ways. And you should experience all of them. But what I like to invite you to is to have more of you. And that's what these tools do. They begin to open up the doorway for you to actually have more of you. And whatever it is that you have forgotten about, that is you, the real you, this is an opportunity to actually access again. And for some of you, it may be for the first time ever. Some of you maybe had it before and then lost it because you got in a relationship. Maybe you got into an abusive relationship. Maybe you had a lot of money and you lost all your money and you've been sort of down and out. But what's actually available to you is to actually have you again. And for some of you, for the first time in your entire lives. And to receive from everything around you, even the dog shit in the snow. I don't think it snows in Brazil, so that's probably not a good example. So, but it's like literally, if you allowed every single molecule to communicate with you, what could you actually receive? What would you know? What would be available to you that's not currently available to you because you don't think you deserve it? Who would you be able to receive from that you haven't been allowing into your universe? Because receiving is taboo. Because some of you may have the point of view of, if I let this person in, they'll hurt me. What if that was a lie? What if you could receive from everyone, even the mean, nasty people of the world, without a point of view? And in that can begin to generate and create the life that you actually desire. Whatever it is, it's your life, it's your journey. You get to choose. So, it took me a really long time to, Gary talks about like the elegance of living. He talks about decadence. He talks about hedonism, but when we hear these words, we think, oh, that's not for me. I should be just satisfied with what I have. I have enough. I have more than most people in the world. Therefore, I should be grateful. And yes, we should always be grateful for what we have. But what if what was actually available was infinite and unlimited, boundless? And what if creating your life, those elements of elegance, hedonism, decadence, and aesthetics was part of what would contribute to generating and creating the life that you would like to have? So let me read something to you that's written by Gary Douglas, okay? Elegance, aesthetics, decadence, and hedonism are the source of having a generative life and a phenomenal life. You have to be willing to have these four elements to have the life you would like to have. To have a creative life, you have to destroy something in order to create it. Usually, the one thing you are willing to destroy is you. In order to have a generative life, you must use elegance, aesthetics, decadence, and hedonism. You have a choice of the creation of life, which is matter, energy, space, and time. Or you can generate your life, which is energy, space, and consciousness. If you generate your life, you'll also create your life. Oneness and consciousness includes everything and it judges nothing. So it's not about the rightness or the wrongness of this reality. It's not about the rightness or the wrongness of anything here. It's about the awareness that when you're doing judgment of you, you're doing limitation. When you're doing judgment of others, you're doing limitation. When you're doing judgment, you're also inviting demons too, but that's another story for another day. So you want to be able to create, you want to be able to generate, you want to be able to do it all. So what's elegance mean? Elegance is the willingness to use the least amount of energy to generate the maximum effect in life. It's how you can change others by the amount of energy you use. So that's why you see, like, you know, when Dane's doing his ESB and all that, now he's like, wow, how is he able to change people's limitations, right, in their bodies and in their life with ESB or SOP when we're working on people energetically? Dane calls my sessions ASB, Anthony Synthesis of Being. He named it, Gary named it, I did not name it. That's what the name they gave the sessions that I do. Okay, but it's like, as I began to play with this with very, very little effort, people's lives would transform. What if you can change people's lives just by them being in your presence? Not because of what you say, because of what you be. Aesthetics is the willingness to see the beauty of the moment and the change that you could actually create or generate. Sometimes you can create a change. Sometimes you have to create a change. And sometimes you can see the beauty as the beauty it is without changing anything. And that's why in Access, we ask, we say, what is this? What do I do with it? Can I change it? If so, how do I change it? And you may get that you can't change it, and that's okay. Are you willing to see the beauty in it for what it is? Decadence is the willingness to receive everything and hold on to nothing. It's the ability to waste. If you're willing to waste anything or anyone, no one will ever own you. Hedonism is the willingness to experience the orgasmic quality of the joy and fun of living. It is constant pleasure seeking, every moment of every day. It is the willingness to make your life a pleasure instead of a pain. How many of you, every time you have fun, you always have guilt associated with it? I used to all the time. Okay, whether it was when I was having sex or eating foods or having a drink, there was always this little element of guilt in my world. What's the point of having a body if we're not going to enjoy it, right? But there's so many points of view out there that actually separate us from our bodies, that separate us from having fun and enjoying these elements here. Hedonism is also when you're willing to live your life from a hedonistic pleasure place. Your life begins to work in ways it has never before because you are living for the joy of it, not for what you have to accomplish, what you have to do, or for the purpose of it. People have defined hedonism and decadence as bad things instead of recognizing that if you use them correctly, you'll get somewhere. You'll be able to create the life that you would like to have. I mean, how does it get better than that? So, how you doing, Ricardo? You were awesome. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
All
Yep.
right. Thank you. That's
You did
great.
fabulous. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, yeah. Were there any questions you wanted to ask me?
All right. I think there are some questions here.
Yep.
Just a second.
Okay.
Vocês têm perguntas? Podem fazer perguntas.
I have one.
Yes.
Yes, Tony.
Eu tenho uma pergunta.
Oh, yes. You said that the question is how long it took you to believe the access consciousness tools, because you said it took a little while to be started.
Yeah. Well, it was until my third bar. Well, really right away, not for myself. It was more for the children. So like even in the first bars class, I'm like, yeah, okay. I didn't really notice anything for myself, but my one son, who's very hyper, by the time they got to kindness, gratitude, peace, and calm, there's one of the bars points, he was literally sedated. So I was like, I'm going to come back even if just for that. And then my older son literally would fall asleep within 5 minutes. So I'm like, wow. So the ease that I saw in their universes, I'm like, okay, even if it may not work for me, I'm going to keep going for the children. But it was my third bars class, my fifth session. The facilitator, her story was so amazing. I'll never forget it. And it kind of put my story in perspective. And she lost a little girl, and it was really a tragic story, but she facilitated such a brilliant class that she rocked my world. And the gentleman who was running my bars didn't know what the hell he was doing. His hands were all in the wrong. They were practically like up my nose and in my ears. So she'd had to come over and like readjust his hands and put him in the correct place. But once he got them in the correct place, it was like, I thought I was going to vomit all over the place. And literally the next day I woke up and I was whistling with joy. And that was only 11 months after my wife had died. So I knew then that there was something to the work. But to go on and say, to really truly believe it, like the first 2.5 years is just about getting me through my pain and suffering. And all I know is like each time I did something magnificent would show up. So it was like, so I had that experience after the bars, and then I went to a body class, right? And literally it was like all the ways I had been insane when it came to love and romance seemed to like surface during the body class, And I was like, oh my God, this is the energy of the insanity in which I've been functioning from in relationships my whole entire life, because I gave myself up for a relationship. I gave myself up for the utopian ideal of romance. And literally, I would not create my life. And so I started to see an opportunity to finally change these things that have plagued me all my life. And I tried to do these other techniques and they never worked. So there was always something that kept me going back and going back and going back. And I'm going to be honest with you, and it shows up at different times for everyone. All I knew is I needed to keep going, right? And then when I would do ASB sessions and working on people, I got to experience what it was like to gift and receive simultaneously. Whereas a chiropractor, all I felt like is I was giving and giving and giving, and I'd be exhausted at the end of the day. And I had never worked on people's bodies as I did with ASB, where like universes would open up. Portals of energy would open up behind me and like go through me. And it was just like, I'm like, oh my God, am I dreaming this? So it was like there was always something. And it wasn't until the last Maestro in September. And many times in Access, I would get like a download of like intense energy, right? But it always seemed to be sort of, I could always see sort of the boundaries of it. You know what I mean? It was a lot and it was magnificent, but I always kind of saw it like as a ball, if you will. At the last Maestro, it was like, I don't know what happened, but it was like the ball went from a ball and it became infinite. And it was like, if you can imagine like an energetic sky opening up above you or something, and there was no end to it. But really what that was is it was my being. And it was actually very overwhelming. So I ran up to Dane and I'm like, Dane, I feel like I'm gonna have a heart attack. It's gonna be a good heart attack because I feel amazing, but it's like I feel like I'm gonna actually have a heart attack. And then he actually hit me in the chest really hard, and it kind of changed it. But then after that I went to go upstairs and work, and I started working on him, and I just started weeping and weeping and weeping because what I saw, what became available to me was so beautiful, and it made me look at all the problems that I thought were problems in my life as so insignificant. And I thanked him so much for being an allowance of me being an idiot and making the problems I go to him with so big, when really, when that became available to me, your problems are really ridiculous. No matter what they are, they're ridiculous. So it's been a journey. And all I can say was there was always something beautiful and magical that would show up. Now, some classes were not always comfortable. They didn't feel like magic, okay? Sometimes it was like getting a kick in the ass, okay? Sometimes I'd go to a class and it was like actually looking at the real ugly parts of myself, right? But that's what, that's what vulnerability is, when you're willing to actually look at the good, the bad, and the ugly of you without a point of view. So that's when I knew Access was like legit, because nothing made me that uncomfortable. Nothing made me feel that raw. So I knew there was something to this work, and that was enough for me to keep going back and investing the money and all of that. So I hope that answers your question.
Oh,
It was
yes.
just, yeah, cool.
Perfect.
Yeah, great question.
It seems like you still believe every day that happens. Yeah.
Oh my God, big time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because what it happens, it's not a belief in here. It's like it consumes my whole body. Yeah, and it's like nobody can take it away from you. It's like people who maybe had near-death experiences where they've died and they come back. It's sort of like that. They speak from this knowing. Yeah. Great question. Thank you. So, any other questions out there?
Or Anthony, I'm gonna just ask in Portuguese for Luan and Fabiana if
Okay.
we have some questions ready for you. All right.
Okay.
Classe de 3 dias de corpo pode mudar a vida.
All right. So how a 3-day body class can change the life of somebody?
Well, I think I kind of answered that.
So take your life as the answer.
Okay.
Right?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, it's like, what can it do? You know what I mean? It's like, there's nothing that it can't do from my point of view. Creating more ease with your body. Creating more communion with your body. Dissolving the limitations that you think are limitations that are not limitations, but as long as you think they're limitations, they'll be limitations. That it actually starts to create space between you and your limitations so that you actually start to see more choice and more possibility. Then it begins to open you up to access, literally, an unlimited fountain of energy and possibility that is so overwhelming, but it's like it's everything that you ever desired, but you only would see in like a science fiction movie or something like that. It'll help you get your life back for some of you. More awareness of, and also like more receiving, creating a space to actually receive kindness. So many of you people on this call have had major abuse, and you seem to attract people who abuse your body instead of care and nurture it. These body processes will begin to create that space for you to learn how to receive kindness and caring. So you're not the only one who's giving it out, but you're actually receiving it for once. And when there are abusive people who show up in your life, you won't take it anymore. You'll say, bye-bye, fuck you very much. I don't have to be abused anymore. It's like I can go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. When that will all show up for you, I don't know. I can't tell you. For some people, it's boom, right away. I had little experiences like along the way that were magical and more magical, and it was just incredible. But I also had to be willing to look at where I was insane along the way too. You have to be willing to look at what is, if you really want to change anything that's not working for you. If you're not willing to look at what is, then you're never going to be able to change it. And that's what vulnerability is. It's like being like new skin, raw skin. And it's the willingness to look at the good, the bad, and the ugly of you without a point of view. It's being as an open wound. And in that space, you begin to have all of you. And you'll even learn to be comfortable being uncomfortable sometimes. Consciousness is not always warm and fuzzy. Okay, and once you can get over that point of view, then you'll learn to be okay when your awareness is making you a little uncomfortable. For those of you who've been in Access Consciousness maybe a long time, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 years, have you ever gone to a class where there's a bunch of new people and you feel like you're going a little psycho? That's because you're aware of them. It's not you, it's theirs. You're just aware. Okay, but so what will start to happen is you'll start to learn how to be okay with your awareness. You won't have your points of view about what you're aware of won't stick you the way that they used to. You know, Shannon O'Hara, who created, Gary Douglas's daughter, created Talk to the Entities tools. You know, she said that if it wasn't for the Talk to the Entities tools, she'd either be dead or in a mental institution. And the Talk to the Entities tools were created for survival, for her own survival. But basically what she had her whole life was entity awareness symptoms. She suffered from her awareness until she started to use the tools. And that's what birthed the Talk to the Entity tools, you know, with the help of Gary Douglas, of course. So it's like, and yeah, I get to see now where my awareness used to crush me. And now I can look at my awareness. I can perceive, let's say, things that aren't pleasurable, but I know that they're not mine. But even though it feels so real in my body, so real and true, it must be mine because my body is hurting. And once I get the awareness, once I'm able to shine the light of awareness on the situation by asking questions or by receiving the bars or a body process, I'm able to change it, and it doesn't last as long as it used to. So you don't have to suffer your awareness any longer. So these are some of the things that having these body processes done can create for you in your life. Who wouldn't want that? And if you're in a relationship, it'll make it better. Get naked and run these processes, baby. All sorts of fun, yummy stuff will show up. And if it doesn't, it's okay. If you had a fight, run processes on each other. It'll change it because you'll start to realize how silly your fights are. Someone said something about, asked a question about an investment or something about the classes. Did you catch that, Ricardo?
Yeah, there's quite a few questions about the details of the class, when it is,
Okay.
where it is, if it's available online, everything.
I think Ricardo could answer that.
I did this question. Can I ask or can I explain?
Sure.
Yeah.
Bom, eu fiz
Hi,
essa
my name
pergunta, posso explicar? All right, go ahead.
Can I ask quickly? It's just because I have been this thought very many times. I did the access bars twice. The first level, I don't know exactly what the name is.
That's it. Access bars.
Yes, access bars.
That's it.
In Helsinki, Finland, where I live. And I have been attending a swaps also, and I feel some difference. But for some reason, I didn't achieve this level of wow. I had some friends that really have been seeing this change in life, and I didn't, to be honest. I still believe, but I didn't see this big change. And I have been reading the Dane's books, and my question is related with the investment of money, because as I want to see this difference and want to be, because I have this awareness of energy around me, and I have been the kind of fighting and judging myself with this. So I have been trying to attend many other classes that happens in Helsinki and Estonia. But because the investment, this is still a thing that I have been also attending one of the money classes. And still money is a thing for many people. I know it's energy and I'm aware about these things, I believe. But still, my question is, why is this investment is so big? Because the class is almost my monthly rent. Some classes, €1,000 in Finland is a lot of money. Yeah. So I know
that's a great question. And I actually had the same exact point of view as well when I first started Access. Same exact point of view. And so I actually made a demand that I wouldn't put one class on a credit card unless the money was there. So I made a commitment to only pay cash for all the classes. And literally my point of view was, if these tools work, the money will show up. Because my exact point of view is exactly what your point of view is. It's like, wow, these are expensive classes. They're really expensive. And so I was like, whoa. So what had happened was I got the book, How to Become Money workbook. And I read that 5 times immediately. I also got the book, Money's Not the Problem, You Are. Okay. I also ran this clearing, which was amazing. And I'll give it to you. What physical actualization of the financial reality beyond this reality am I now capable of generating, creating, and instituting? And everything that doesn't allow that, I destroy and uncreate it all. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. I was also using the tool, I am power, I am awareness, I am control, I am creativity, I am money. Anytime I started getting negative in my mind about money and about how expensive the classes were, I would say these clearings, okay? And all of a sudden, money would just start showing up. Now, my business never got better. In fact, it got worse. Now, keep in mind, I've been doing Access 7 years now. So all this, a lot of this magic, the first half of Access was about me getting through my drama and trauma.
Yeah.
The second part of Access is about all these wonderful things that have been showing up. But I had enough of them, I had enough results to keep me curious, to keep going back. But I wouldn't just go unless the money was there. And the money would just show up. And it showed up because the only thing I could owe it to is because I used the tools. And I also committed to doing 1 bars class per month. So I got my bar certification right away, which is not very much money. Okay, that's very minimal. Okay. Yeah. And then I knew I had to do a foundation class, right? So I bought it online because I couldn't afford to travel. So at the time, it was foundation was a 2-day class and level 1 was a 2-day class, right? Now we know foundation's 4 days. They combined it. But at the time I did just foundation because that's all I could afford, and I did it at home. and it rocked my friggin' world, right?
You did
I
alone?
waited, yeah. And then I waited a whole year before I did level 1. And that rocked my world. And
Okay.
so, and then all of a sudden I committed to doing 1 bars class per month. And somehow I made enough money just from the bars to pay for all the expensive classes.
Okay. And you recommend the foundation then?
Of course.
Yeah, because I didn't get it there.
Yeah, of course. And if you can't afford to travel or do something, well, you got plenty of facilitators. Brazil's blowing up. I mean,
Yeah,
you
I'm
should
not
have
in
plenty of
Brazil,
people in your area.
unfortunately. Finland is
Oh, you're
very
not.
resistant. Yeah, I'm in Finland.
Oh, okay. So if you can't travel, then, if you're trying to save money, buy it online,
Yeah. Okay.
and you'll save a lot of money in travel and stuff. But I just did it one little step at a time. And eventually all these opportunities showed up. But you have to be you have to be sort of patient, because it may show up a little bit later for you compared to other people. And you can't
Yeah.
compare yourself to other people.
I know.
All right.
And yeah, sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but it's the
No, it's
same
okay.
online or
And
present. The energy is the same or is different?
it's always different. You mean depending on each class, you're saying?
Yes, because
Oh, it's always,
online, I mean, if I'm alone doing, it's not the
you know
same.
what? To me, it's more fun to be in person.
Mm.
But like I said, if money's a problem, taking it online, you're still going to get the magic. You will get the
Okay.
magic. But you'll also receive the magic. It's about receiving it too. You have to use the tools. Because
Yeah.
when you use the tools on a daily basis, it starts to create the space for you to receive more and more and more and more and more and more and more. You can't just like take a class and expect your life to change. You got to use the tools when you go home.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean? I watch Gary and Dane even now. They use the tools every day. When I'm working on them, they're using the tools. If something is showing up in their lives, they're using the tools. We all think that because they're where they are, that they've arrived. No, they're using the tools on a daily basis all the time. And that's what they're inviting you to, is to use the tools as well, and you'll start seeing things show up and change.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know what? It's worth the investment, because the money matches the energy of what's possible for you. That's the only way I could explain it. And until you experience it, you'll always question why it's so expensive.
Exactly. Yeah.
But in the meantime, the bars is not very expensive. And you have a whole year before you have to take a foundation class to renew your bars license. So get your bars certificate and start doing bars classes, and then use that money to pay for the foundation.
Yeah. And it's not a matter of believe or not believe. Maybe it's the thing of practice, right? Maybe that's the point. Because I always question as well, is that thing of belief or is the thing of practice?
No, look, I didn't believe it. I thought it was bullshit. I thought about quitting a whole bunch of times, okay? A whole bunch of times, but I couldn't deny the results I was experiencing, and for myself personally, and what I was witnessing in the children.
Yeah. Thanks for your
Okay?
honesty.
Yeah, you're welcome. But
Yeah.
so it wasn't about belief. It was about, I experienced the results even when I didn't believe. That's what I'm trying to say. You don't have to believe in this stuff for it to work. That's what's beautiful about it.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's just going to show up at different times for you than it might have been for me.
Maybe. Yeah. Because
and I had the children too. The children were the ones who made me keep going back, because there was all the candy and chips and snacks.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Yeah, just a second.
Para ele falar pouco como funciona a classe de 3 dias de curso, como é.
So, can you talk about a little how the 3-day body class works? How they're going to spend the 3 days in the class? If like they're going to run process, or they're going to be listening to you, or?
No, they're only going to listen to me for like 30 minutes. And then we literally, day 1, 2, and 3, you're going to exchange body processes twice in the morning and twice in the afternoon, all 3 days. And you're going to actually start to learn how to access your knowing. And there's going to be a gifter and a receiver. And You're going to be asking questions to determine what processes to run on your partner. And it's really quite magical. It's amazing what shows up by the third day. It's amazing. It's quite beautiful. And I'm there obviously to facilitate and not answer any questions, but to actually ask you questions to create the awareness so you can get the awareness in areas in your life that may not be working. So as far as talking is concerned, that's all up to you. If the people taking the class, the people who are in the class create the class. It's your class, not my class. You create the class. This class is for you. It's not for me. I'm a facilitator. I get to do what I do best. I get to do what I do I love, and I get to use these tools to bring out the greatness in every single one of you if you choose it. And that's up to you. And I am completely blessed and honored to be able to do it, whether it's for one person or 300 people or 1,000 people. It's a blessing and an honor to be able to facilitate someone to have more knowing and awareness of the greatness of themselves. Nothing gives me greater joy.
Falar pouquinho mais sobre as sessões dele, né? Que ele vai fazer para o Brasil. Pede para ele falar pouquinho mais, se ele quiser compartilhar com a gente.
All right. So if you can share a little more about your ASB sessions and how it works.
Well, like I said, ASB stands for Anthony. That's my name, Synthesis of Being. That's what Dr. Dane here calls the sessions that I do, which obviously is derived from energetic synthesis of being, ESB, right? And so, I explained the story in the call, so I'm not going to repeat any of that. But it's basically just me doing, my version of energetic synthesis of being on the people that I work with. So you could go to my website and you can learn more about it if that's of interest to you. But it's like, it's an experience that's different for everyone. Some people cry, some people laugh, some people fall asleep. Some people say they have more communion with their bodies. Some people say that many pains in their bodies go away. Some people say that their body's turned on for the first time in like 30 years. So their husband wants to thank me because they're horny again. They want to have sex all the time. So, it's an invitation to facilitate you to access more of you. And it's just another vehicle to destroy the limitations or the areas of unconsciousness that are stopping you from having everything you desire. It's just really an invitation for you to have more of you by playing with the molecules and shifting them and moving them.
All right, thank you. Let me see if
Yeah.
there's more questions. Ladies, meninas, mais perguntas? All right. All right, so
Coloca aqui no chat pra gente.
Posso fazer uma pergunta? Alô, estão me ouvindo? Posso fazer uma pergunta?
So he's asking, what's X's point of view, Gary and Dane's, and your point of view about alcohol and body, alcohol and the 3-day body classes, if there's any relation between alcohol and body, if the body really have pleasure with alcohol.
Well, what's your awareness? You know, this is not about what we think. This is about what you know. This is about accessing what you know.
Okay,
this is not about us like lecturing about what our points of view are regarding like diet and drink.
Okay, just a second, just a second.
Yeah.
All right, you can go on and I'll translate simultaneously now.
Yep. Gary sometimes jokingly says, when in doubt, drink it out. I don't know if that translates. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. You know, drinking yourself to oblivion, though, where you drink yourself to unconsciousness is never a good thing. You know, anytime you're choosing unconsciousness is never a good thing because you could actually invite demons into your world. Right? But having a few drinks, catching a little bit of a buzz, you know, my point of view, have fun, enjoy yourself.
Anthony, someone asked if the course enables them to use the tools as practitioners. So once they take a 3-day body class, can they be a body practitioner?
Yeah, they have to take 2 classes. They have to take 2 classes with 2 different facilitators before they can start teaching it in a 1-day format.
All right, just a second.
Same picture of birth certificate for the free.
All right, somebody wants to ask you a question in just a second, Anthony.
Okay. That's a long question.
Oh, that was not.
That was like a bedtime story.
No, they're just telling people that to seize the moment and ask you some questions about energy and all this stuff, and not about specificalities about
okay.
the class or other stuff, access stuff. Yeah.
Spank him, girl. Spank him. Cute. All right. I'll take one final question.
Oi. Hello.
Hello.
I would like to know how you deal with the distractor implants.
That's a great question. That is a great question. Okay. Was there more to that question? I pot and pock the shit out of myself.
Okay.
That's how I deal with it. I catch myself and I give my family permission to tell me when I'm being in a distractor implant, because I'm cute but not very bright. And you know, I've been doing Access for 7 years, and it wasn't until about 3 or 4 months ago, and I've been a CF for a long time. It wasn't until I actually read the book, even though the distractor implants is a telecall series that you have to listen to to become a certified facilitator, none of it like sunk until I read the book, and I realized all the places where I've been a distractor implant. And I would always be in reaction instead of action. And so basically when it shows up, I pot and pock myself, and I destroy and uncreate all the secret, hidden, invisible, covert, unseen, unsaid, unacknowledged, and undisclosed implants and explants. And that's it. You just have to pot and pock yourself and catch yourself. So but these are the kind of things that we go over in the body class and stuff.
Wow. Okay. In my last,
all right. Let's just take a break on the questions here. So there's a lot of people talking at the same time here in the English room and the Portuguese room. So
You're amazing. So, thank you, you guys.
I'm listening to someone ask a Portuguese question and trying to translate you, so it's a little messy. So
You're very talented.
Yes, let's organize here a little. So there's a question here in the Portuguese room. So just a second, I'm gonna just take this question and translate it to you.
Okay. Hey, I want to thank you before I forget. I want to thank Ricardo and
Ricardo
for just putting this together. I'm grateful for the invitation. I'm looking forward to coming down and playing with all of you. And so just in case I forgot, I just want to say thank you.
And for Natalia for translating in Spanish.
Yes. Who? Natalia?
Natalia.
Natalia, thank you. Mwah. Kisses to you too. Mwah. Mwah. Okay. All right, go ahead, Ricardo.
So she's asking, yes, just a second. This is about the entity class. So they're asking if you're going to facilitate the entity class. I'm just going to answer them. So
yeah, that depends on the demand. Yeah.
All right. Just hold on a second. So Anthony,
yes,
Andrea would like to know if what are the magnetic and electrical imprinting that the entities leave on our body? If you could talk a little about this.
Well, you know, the magnetic imprinting is like, it's like a thumbprint. Okay, it's like sort of like their identification of the being that they be. The chemical imprinting is more like if they did drugs or alcohol or on a lot of medicines before they died. You want to kind of release and dissipate all that. But I'm not going to get into that and give it away. Otherwise, what would be the point of coming to the class? But that's what it is. It's sort of like their identification, if you will. So when you're clearing certain entities, or if you're someone who's had a lot of entities in you and they're leaving, you want to make sure you have their magnetic imprinting leave too. Otherwise, the vibration of their presence will still be there, even though that being is gone. The vibration, the frequency will still be there, and you'll feel like the occupant's still in there. But that's all I'm telling, and that was already too much. Bad answer, bad answer. All right. Well, I'm going to go feed my babies, or they're teenagers now. They're hungry. So thank you all for your time. I adore all of you. And yeah, come play. Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you, Fabiana, Natalia, Luana.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Teresa.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. A pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Adios.